This week marked the anniversary of a very important event in the history of Tennessee football, and I don't think the results have necessarily been what we expected when that move was made 4 years ago. Hey, Lucas Panzica here from 104.5 The Zone and A to Z Sports. January 27th, 2021, Tennessee Athletics Director Danny White named former UCF head coach Josh Heupel the next head coach of the Tennessee Volunteers, replacing the outgoing and fired Jeremy Pruitt. Do you remember your reaction the day Heupel was hired to coach the Vols? It probably wasn't an overwhelmingly positive one. Heupel wasn't necessarily considered to be this home run hire that would bring championships to Tennessee. Best case scenario, he would bring a fun, up-tempo offense to Knoxville and would be a great bridge coach to bridge the gap to the next era of Tennessee football, where then the Vols could possibly make that next step towards beating their rivals and contending for the college football playoff. Well, the results have been far better than most people anticipated the day that hire was announced. In the last 3 years alone, Josh Heupel has a winning percentage of .769. That's good for number 3 in the SEC, and it's top 10 in the country. Heupel has 10 wins against ranked opponents. That is number 4 among active FBS head coaches in that time frame. Josh Heupel has also won 30 games in the last 3 years as the head coach at Tennessee. The Vols have not had a run like that since the late 90s, and that is also number 3 among SEC head coaches. The results have been far better than what we expected on that day in January 2021. And there were valid concerns the day Josh Heupel was hired. Tennessee's program was in a terrible, terrible situation. Jeremy Pruitt had left NCAA violations hanging over the program like a sword held by a string, and Heupel came in to try to clean up that mess. Players had exited with a mass exodus in the transfer portal, and there was a massive void in talent for Heupel to take care of, and we didn't know if he'd be up to the task. The two big questions around Josh Heupel at that time were defense and recruiting. He had not shown a major sample size of either of those things at UCF. Well, when you look at both of those categories, Tennessee had one of the best defenses in the country this past year, and a lot of that is due to defensive coordinator Tim Banks, who, by the way, the Vols announced an extension with as his contract was set to be up at the end of January. Tim Banks will stick around for the foreseeable future and lead this Vols defense. And then recruiting. The Vols have finished with right around top 10 classes in recent years, and there are very impressive, especially quarterback prospects committed to the Vols in the coming seasons. In fact, the quarterback position have been where Tennessee has hung its hat in terms of recruiting. Are there strides to be made in recruiting in other areas for Tennessee to make up the gap between them and the likes of Ohio State and Georgia, who have won national titles in recent years? Yes, absolutely. Nobody is questioning that there is more room to grow, but Josh Heupel in 4 years has done far more than probably even the most optimistic Tennessee fan thought he would on the day that he was hired on January 27th, 2021.